on getting organized and using our design library. We're going to go through a couple of other things as well. First, let me minimize the dialog box here, and my Perfect Embroidery Pro open with my design screen displayed. The first thing I'm going to do is make my design library just a little bit bigger, since that's what we're focusing on today. Over here in my Properties tab and the Sequence view and the Design Library view, all I have to do is click on the library. And this shows me everything that's in my design library. Now, the purpose of the library is to help keep you organized if you use it that way. You can load in different design collections in here, put whatever you want to in it. But once a year, and it seems like New Year's is a good time to do that cleaning out, sorting out thing. And for those of you who have been to one of my seminars, and especially for my fellow educators, Ashley, I have actually cleaned off my desktop. You will see I've already started, oops, maybe you will, my spring cleaning in December. So I've cleaned that off. Thank you very much. And I think my computer is running just a little bit better now. But in our design library, the library is shared by all three platforms of the Dime Inspiration software. That would be Perfect Embroidery Pro, my Quilt Embellisher, and my Block Piecer. So whatever you create and you save in that library or put in that library, you can access easily from any of the programs, and you don't have to go hunt around for it. For example, here are my Quilt Embellisher free designs. You can see all of these listed here. And they show up with their numbers and a picture of them. And when I drag one from the library to my design page, it comes in, and it comes in grouped. This is very, very helpful, because if it's grouped, it allows me to rotate it if I want to, adjust the size, and it stays together as a design rather than me having to select the whole design and group it so I can manipulate it. So that's one of the things that's really handy with the design library. So if you're using more than one design, you can bring in a second one. It's grouped. You can resize it, rotate it, insert it into the mix, whatever you would like to do with them. So all of the designs from the design library come in grouped. Remember that, because if you want to go change any part of that design, any object in that design, you will need to ungroup it first by select. Now, I'm just going to delete these two designs by clicking delete. I could also select it and just hit the delete key on my computer, which is the way I usually do it. So what I have in my design library are lots of designs, and I've actually cleaned it up just a little bit. Here are samples. These are samples that I use during my demos and when I'm teaching software classes. So I have all of those in there. Then here are my Dime free designs. These are automatically placed into your design library by month. Now remember, you get 5 free designs every month from Designs and Machine Embroidery. If you click the My Today page up at the top, you can see here are all of this month's free designs. You can download them, and this is where it will put it. It will put it right here. Here are those designs in December. And you see I've selected to include multiple formats with it, the C2S as well as the PES, and some of it DST. I was just playing around with some different formats. This one is just the C2S. Which brings up a good topic. What designs do we want to save in our design library? If I've run a design that I've created through click to stitch and save it in the format I need for my machine, the stitch format, I don't need to save that in my design library, because I can always recreate it from the original C2S file, which is our click to stitch C2S That's what it stands for, in case you didn't know. And I can always recreate that. So there's no need to keep stitch file versions of it because they're best edited in the original format, which is C2S. So if I've created something in C2S and I've added lettering to it, it knows what the font that was used, it knows what anything that I've changed on there, what fills, what run stitches, how it was done, all of that information. Whereas if I save it as a PES file or another stitch format like VP3 or HUS, any of those, then it only knows the stitches, okay? It knows it stitches here, here, and here, and here, which is great, but not if we're wanting to go back in and edit. So right off the bat, one of the things that you can do to clean up your library is to come in here and delete the designs that you don't need to keep. So I'm going to go through, and I don't need to keep the DST file. I'm going to just delete that design and say yes, and I can clean those up very easily. All right, delete everything but the C2S version, and delete design, yes. So very simply done, even after it's already in the library. The other thing I can do with the library is add, let's go to, these are your free designs. Another place that we automatically put designs is Inspiration Collections. If you have purchased any of the Inspiration Collections from Designs in Machine Embroidery that include both the dime versions and the Great Notions versions, I can add those. When you add them, it will automatically, if you have the software, put them under Inspiration Collections in your design library. Now, here I've got Butterfly Majesty and Christmas Confections and Lace Borders and Lulu Christmas. Now, I'm going to give you a tip. For those of you who have both, who sew both for fun and for a business, notice I didn't say for profit, for a business, if you purchase designs that are licensed that you can't use for resale, you can't stitch them on something and sell it, like the Lulu Christmas is a licensed design, I can right-click on that and say, let's rename this folder, and I'm going to put, I could put an L, I'm just going to put a little X in front of that, meaning I can only give that, stitch it and give it away to someone, and it drops to the bottom of my list because it's an X. You could do a Z. You can do whatever you want. But that's my way of knowing this is a licensed collection, so I better not stitch it on something that I'm going to sell. Okay. Of course, migrated designs, we know these are from the previous version of the software. It doesn't move them, and you need to know that. Those are still located on your C drive under Floriani Designs. It just knows where to go and look for them. And it allows you to use all of the designs that you've collected in your design library. Now, let's go down now to Perfect Embroidery Pro free designs. These are the free designs that you got with your software or your upgrade. If I click on that, it shows me down in the bottom all 300 of those free designs. Well, these are not organized in any way that makes sense to me. I mean, they're all organized numerically, which, you know, means nothing. I don't know that a pig is in the 64,000s along with the seahorse and the crab and the bear. So I may want to do those a little bit differently. For example, I may put some of the designs that I think are nautical into, or from the ocean into nautical. Let me show you how we do this. If I click on a design, I can right-click, and if I say Show Contents, it's going to take me into my File Explorer or Windows Explorer in Windows, okay? And here I am, my computer, my C drive, the dime directory, under Designs, these are in Perfect Embroidery Pro, Free Designs, and Nautical. Okay, now let's look at Perfect Embroidery Pro Free Designs. Let me move this window over a little bit. And this is the way our designs look to us a lot of times when we go into our screen, into Windows, and we see all of these numbers, which, again, now I know 64,000 means, you know, the pig and some sea creatures, but I don't know what these numbers mean. A program that helps me a lot with this, that is separate from Perfect Embroidery Pro, is called Perfect Stitch Viewer. In Perfect Stitch Viewer, it really helps me find things. It's like having a superpower. It's like if I had X-ray vision into the files on my computer, because I don't know what these are. I can click on them and it'll show me here, and that is helpful. But if I come over here in Windows to my options, and I can click the down arrow and say, show me in large icons what this is a design of, or a picture of that design. That makes so much more sense to me. Now I can go through and look at these and say, wow, there's a pretty design there, and there's a rose, and I could put that in nautical, I guess. Looks like he's under the sea with gold coins around him. There's birds. So anyway, I can go through these and look. But if I've got 300 designs that are like this, even seeing pictures of them, while it's helpful, doesn't really help me in organizing them. So what I've started doing, you notice I've made some different folders here within my, pardon me, within my Perfect Embroidery Pro Free Designs. I have Nautical, so I put some things in there. I've got Children, so I could scroll down and select files that are children, like this one. And I could say cut, but I'm going to copy. And then I simply scroll back up and say, paste it in there. Now, the reason I'm doing that, now you see that that file is in the children file. And if we look at it in medium, larger, extra large icon view, I can see it. Now, that's only because I've got Perfect Stitch Viewer on here. If you don't have Perfect Stitch Viewer, you can just select it and it'll show you a picture here. Now, the reason I copied it is I may want a design in multiple categories. Like I may want a horse in four-legged animals. I may want it in Western. I may want it in farm, you know, whatever, however you want to sort it. So there's not, you need to think about what you do and select designs organized the way that you will find them easiest. Now we have that children's one up there. Let's scroll down and, oh, these are children's. Now I can do it one at a time, but that's tedious. I can hold my control key down and click on multiple designs. And let's see some more children's stuff. Oh, cute poodle. Oh, the quack, quack, quack's kind of cute. And if I hold my control key down, it just adds that design to what I'm copying, okay? So I'm making a group. I love the pig in the inner tube. That's hilarious. Oh, princess. I mean, you could do things, sayings, words, you know, all of that. Now that I have them selected, all I have to do is right-click and say copy, scroll back up to my file, right-click on children and say paste. Now let's go look in my children's folder. Oops. Double click, and there you go. All of those files that I copied are now in Children's. Let's see what that looks like now back over in our design library. I'm going to close this. Now, over here, when I click on Children, it shows it. Sometimes, if it doesn't, you may need to right-click and click on Refresh. That will update anything you've recently done, okay? So that if you were playing in here and said, oh, I want to put Splish Splash, I want to move that somewhere else or add another design, when you do it in the library, you do need to click Refresh, and you can do that here. These are your individual designs, and your folder is highlighted. And you can do this up here in the folder part. And remember, this is just a hierarchy of, here's our designs, here's my dime-free designs, here's my inspiration collections, here are other designs that I've created or made. And depending on the program, it may save them directly in here for me. Like when I do a split design, it will put it in the library for me automatically. When I do blocks from my block piecer, it will put them in the library automatically. Create, like this design creates the, when I created this block, it put those under stairs. And then I've got staircase and snowflake and quilt motifs. Now these are designs that I've added from designs that I had, and I just pulled them in here. And these all happen to be PES designs. But I don't have them in C2S format, so I'm going to leave them in there, and I use these a lot to audition on when I'm doing quilting. So that, in a nutshell, is what the design library does. And remember that the design library works with all three programs. The advantage of that is if I have done something in my quilting software that I want to open in PEP to adjust or split, maybe I'm doing a big design on a quilt and I want to split that design, I can't do that in my quilt embellisher, so I can open it up in PEP and split it here and stitch that design. So it all works together very nicely. So, Dory, do we have any questions so far?
We actually do, Miss Tamara.
Oh, Dory, your voice has changed.
It has changed.
Hello, Miss Nancy.
I'm so sorry. Before we do that, Miss Dory, could you make all the introductions for everyone that have joined us this evening to make this event a success?
I most certainly will. Tonight's webinar features a little bit of everything, and it is about let's get organized. It's the beginning of the year, folks. We have a wonderful team tonight assisting us. I am, Dory, manager of the technical support. We have Nancy R. We have Bob and Debbie, and they're part of the technical support team. I would like to mention Nancy Snyder. You heard her. And she is the Vice President of Marketing. And tonight, of course, we have Tamara Evans, our quilty speaker, who I will give back to. But I do want to say that in the spirit of the new year, let's get organized.
Thank you so much, Dory and Tamara. I apologize for being 2 minutes late to this. You had already joined, and I didn't have an opportunity to welcome all to this particular evening's event. One of the questions, though, without further ado, that came up is, can I use the C2S format in my machine?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Right. Well, and there's a couple of components to this, so maybe you answer them all at once.
Okay.
You know, it says, however, you can convert your C2S in our software, like I see you can convert C2S in your software, but primarily it's C2S, and I think there's a specific word for it. It's not proprietary. I think there's another one for it. So if you could educate us about our primary platform is C2S, and
sure.
how that works to manipulate within any brand of machine out there.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good question. And getting back to basics, which is what the New Year's all about as well. Let's open up, let me pull in a C2S design. When you get Perfect Stitch Viewer, you get 20 free designs. These are all C2S, or digitized in C2S. And let me just pull in my little teddy bear here, who is absolutely adorable. And let me show you, if I go to the sequence view, down here, instead of being in the library, I'm going to click the sequence view. And it shows me all the colors that are in that design. How I know that this is a C2S design is if I look at a certain color. I see a run, I see a complex fill. When I click on the complex fill, whoops, remember how I told you whenever you pull a design in from the library, it comes in grouped. Well, if we want to look at a single element, we need to ungroup. I can either right-click and say ungroup, or I can go up here to my icon and click ungroup. Works the same way, either way. Now, when I click on that complex fill, it tells me this is a standard tatami fill. My stitch length is 3.0. My density is 0.5. I can look here and it tells me what my underlay is. Here is my pull comp and push comp. My settings, you know, the ends are chiseled rather than square. All of these different things. There's no blending done on this particular one. Commands, the end command is a trim, which only works if your machine actually has a trimmer. But, you know, you can make that whatever you want. And the color number and all of that. And here's the object size that you could change. So it knows everything about this design because it was digitized in C2S. As opposed to another, and that's just that little bitty object right there. See what's highlighted? That little piece right there is all we're talking about. I'll put it back where it goes. So that is our format that we use to create a design and talk about all of its bits and pieces. It's like having this would be the recipe from scratch for those of you who cook. I don't do scratch if I can help it. But that is all of the ingredients and the amount of that ingredient and the proportions and when you put it in and what it does and all of that. As opposed to a stitch file, if I save this as a PES design, which is something that I could actually stitch on particular machines, or I save it in a stitch file format, okay, like PES, HUS, VP3, EXP, DST, all of those different formats that the machines go, oh, here's a design. I drop the needle here, then I move 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 here, then I stop and either cut or let you trim and change color, and then I'm going to go here and here and here and here. It doesn't know necessarily that that is a tatami fill, and this is what the underlay is. All it's doing is saying, here's where I go. It's like plotting on a graph, which is actually what your pantograph, the thing that moves your embroidery hoop around, that's all it's doing. So that stitch file reads where the pantograph needs to move. The native file, which C2S is the native file for our software, it knows everything, but your machine can't read that. Your machine will read a stitch format that's created from that. Did that make sense, Nancy?
Oh, it absolutely does, and there's a ton of different stitch formats.
Oh,
Can you
sure.
just name the
Oh,
most common formats off the top of your head?
I can do better than that. I can go into Save As, and here are all of the different stitch formats we can save in for all the different machines. There's a format that will stitch on every machine out there. And then some.
Wow.
We even have formats that will stitch on quilting machines. Now, this isn't a design that you would put on a long arm quilter because it's a filled design. You would want to do a run stitch design, a quilting design on that. I could save it as an SVG file, which is a vector graphics file. If I wanted to print that, I can save it that way, or a plotter file, and all kinds of formats for every, both domestic and commercial machines out there.
So can our consumers feel comfortable when you have a design that was truly digitized in C2S that it will transition from one format to another, holding, you know, all of its beautiful, and I'm going to call them ingredients because
Yes.
all those
Yes.
variables made this beautiful design. And I mean, is the quality going to be the same when you've imported it into machine format?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, because it will take that scratch file, that scratch recipe, and say, okay, now it's all mixed together. Let's bake it, and you'll bake it on your computer machine. I mean, your computer machine on your embroidery machine. It will stitch it out, and it'll be perfect. Unlike the way some of us cook. But if you have, that's not to say that I couldn't bring in a file in another format, you know, if I didn't have a file that was digitized in C2S. I can certainly bring in a file in another format and then save it in a different stitch format because we're just talking about the plotting points for where the needle drops occur in the design. It's that simple.
And so there's endless flexibility there, but that baseline of quality is just ingrained into the technology itself, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And you know, Nancy, I know you know, and I know you know I know, we don't always have to cook from scratch, right?
That's right.
A good cake mix is a good cake. So.
Well, that's a great sign.
All right. Any other questions right now? Because I'm going to kind of move on.
Let me double check.
Anything on the library?
From our team.
Yes, we do have another question. How do I know which PES file to use? I have a Brother 2002D machine from Nancy Colo.
Oh, Nancy, you know, that's a good question. And I'll tell you, I have stitched on many machines that use the PES format. And I'm going to tell you what I recommend. If I go to save this design, unless I have, like it's a big one that the machine's going to do something spectacular with it, I always pick, and I may get corrected on this later, and if so, we'll find out. I always pick version 5, and there's a reason for that. Because with version 5, I don't have to assign a hoop size, so it makes it easier for me. And that's the only reason I picked that one. You could save it. I think it depends on your machine, and I'm not sure all of the nuances of the newer ones versus the older ones. But I know I've never had trouble stitching PES version 5 on any Baby Locker Brother machine that I've ever used. And as far as the Bernina label there, that's for their deco machines. EXP or DST works well on any Bernina machine out there, you know, that's not a deco. So
Well, one thing, Tamara, we're looking at in 2015 is to invite a representative from each major machine brand, to potentially join us during these webinars, or even on, maybe not on the webinars, but in our forum, where we could have a specific, Viking forum, Babylon, Brother, Bernina, and where specific questions that pertain to our software can be asked, and an advocate would be in place to ultimately answer. And it's a work in progress, ladies. Don't count on it yet. We have to get it launched. But we just thought that would be so amazing to help you learn every aspect of your software that you just purchased and make the best of it.
That's great, because it does work well with every machine out there. That's one of the things that, because I sew with several different machines when I'm lucky enough to get them, and I've never not been able to save a file to stitch on a machine I've got. Even my really, really old machines. So we're out there for you. One of the things, and I don't know if y'all saw Eileen's blog last Saturday. It was short, sweet, but really smart. Do you see all of these thread colors down here? Not all of those colors are in this design. Every time I open a new file, it's added colors. In addition to the 8 I started with, just saying I want a new page to create my own design. The way you can clean that up, speaking of quick cleanups, gosh, I wish my sewing room worked this way, is to come over here to the bottom right-hand corner. And nope, that's not the one I want to click. I want to click the minus sign. I'm going to remove all the extra colors that are not included in this design. There we go. We're down to 18. Isn't that great?
Wow, that's
there.
cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And so you can, if I needed to, let's say if I wanted to add lettering on this and I wanted to add one more thread color because I want it to do it last, or I'm going to do an outline around this design or something, I can simply come over here, back where next to the minus, and add a color. And it will add a random color that's different from anything else that's already out there. So I could select that color, select my design, right-click and create an outline. And that's in the new color. So very easy to do. So adding and subtracting colors just so you can keep up with what's in your design is very helpful. Keep it clean, keep it simple. That's my motto for the new year. So any other questions right now? If not, I'm going to move on to threads and thread charts.
I am just a flexible kind of girl.
Okay, good. Then I'm moving on. One of the things that I get a lot of questions about in seminars is, can I create my own thread chart? You notice here, all of this is Madeira Poly Neon. And that is what I had selected. I want you to follow along with me. We can select a default thread chart in Tools, okay, right up at the top, General Options. Here is my thread chart. Now, you select your unit, your style. My default thread chart, I can select anything I choose. I can have it be, in this case, well, let me show you. Here's one where I'm going to create my own thread chart. My threads, there's my poly threads. I've been kind of playing around with this. I haven't actually done the whole thing yet because I have a whole lot of thread. But let me show you how it works. I have quite a bit of isocord and polyester thread that I want to make a thread chart that's just all of the polyester thread that I have. I'm going to change my default thread chart to isocord, and I'll show you why in just a minute. And you can select to have it auto-match the colors when you load a design. Now, This works for every design except C2S. And the reason for that is if you have composed something with different colors, it's going to save that color information for you. But if this was a Pez design I got from somewhere or another format, and I said automatically switch it to Isocord, it will change those colors when I load that design, okay, which is really cool. Another way that I can do that is to come down here at the bottom where it says change palette, click on that icon, and I can change this to Isocord right here. So let's say Isocord, and now if I scroll through to display them, it's changed all of these to Isocord colors. I can do it that way and then save that design. Okay, but here's the thing I really want to do. Let's go into Tools, where we've hit General Options before, but I'm going to Thread Chart Creator and click on that. It doesn't matter what design you have up because it's kind of working outside of the design page right now. I want to open, or I can say New, but I've already started one, so I'm going to open, let's do my poly thread. I'm going to open that one. Oh, and I've gotten really far on my organization with this. I have one color loaded. Now, to load other ones, I pulled out my Isocord thread, and it could be any brand. And actually, I've got some Isocord and some Poly X40 here that I have stored in my bins, and I can say I want to add a color. Actually, I'm going to go to Import, because I could add it all manually, but you know what? Those threads are already out there with the color assigned and everything else, so I'm going to import. Because I changed my default thread chart to Isocord, it pulls up the Isocord chart for me, rather than me having to switch over to it. So that's the advantage of switching my default thread chart right now to Isocord. I don't have to continually select back and forth. Then I look at my spool of thread, and it's got a number on it. This one is 1950. Now, which is a neon pink, and I click OK. Now I've added neon pink. Let's import another thread, and this one is 0520, which is a yellow color, a lemon. Okay, great. I've added that. Now, one thing I might want to do, since I'm mixing thread brands here, is go to the name, and you can edit it very easily, and I'll just say, put an I underscore in front of it, whatever you want to do that makes it helpful for you to remember. In this one, I'm going to put another I underscore. So I know these are Isocord threads in case I've stored them in different places. And oops, let me click at the beginning and Shift I, Shift underscore. Okay, and it's 40 weight thread. I can change the weight. I can change the type as well. It's either standard thread, metallic, or variegated. So I can add all different types of thread to this. The code is the color number, or whatever code I want to give it. But this lets me know what it is, and I like using the color number. Now I'm going to add one of my Poly X40 colors to this. I'm going to import, but not from Isocord, so I click the down arrow and scroll down to Poly X40. Then I enter the number that's on my spool of thread, which is 531. And it is cranberry, and I click OK. How easy is that? Now I'm going to change that to PX underscore, and I could keep going through and adding all of my colors, and which is also a great task for you to get your children or grandchildren to do when they say they're bored over Christmas vacation. And then save my file, and you can name it whatever you want to, and you save it, Yes, I want to replace it. And I can close. Now this isn't going to work very well because I only have 4 colors in there. If I go in here and say, oh, I don't even have to do that. I'll just go down at the bottom and click on Change Palette. Change it to my poly. Well, there we go. That's the best I'm going to be able to do with the ones I've loaded for this design. But it will change it to the threads that you actually own. Isn't that great?
Yeah. So you literally could, and actually that's still pretty. It's just, it doesn't have as many colors, of course.
It's not pretty, Nancy. You don't even have to play like it.
Okay, so that's not as pretty as I would have liked it to have been.
I know.
But if you added all similar colors, it would merge in, right? You know,
right.
It's just a matter of rebuilding your thread library so that you're always using your threads, and they can mix and match, and
Absolutely.
some be isochord and some be
Madeira,
that could be. It doesn't matter. You literally just can create this design to its best of its ability with the closest color from any thread brand that you have.
Exactly. Exactly. And I can change my default settings again in Tools, General Options. So I would go in there and say, okay, make this, you know, my, I can't spell, my
Default
threads or my palette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So whenever I open up a design, it's going to come in with the threads that I actually own. Now, that's all well and good, but some things that I might do differently, if I like to quilt with cotton thread, I'm going to add in all my cotton threads in a different thread library, you know, a thread batch. So I can say, okay, change these colors to, you know, my cotton threads. Let me see what those look like and audition those threads. Or if you've got micro thread, you know, put all your micro threads in there. If you need to use micro thread for, you know, small lettering or micro stippling, you know, anytime you want to use that really small thread. Very fun. So what questions do we have now?
We have a couple here, and
okay.
One is actually more marketing, just our library of information that we've produced over the years and how we distribute it. And it says, how can I see old webinars? Well, it's very simple to do that.
Oh.
You know, every single dealer that is an inspiration dealer has a custom website.
Mm-hmm.
And on their website, they have a Dealer Inspiration logo. If you click that, you will see all of the information that we currently provide as well.
Mm-hmm.
If for any reason you clicked the dealer's website and you do not see our authorized inspiration logo, you know, please email us, communicate with us, and we'll make sure that that's put up. There is one that is just a master file, but it's always best for you to be going to your dealer's custom marketing website because it always shows you the latest events that they're going to have, and we have 2 exciting events coming out this year with every dealer, and there are just so many more reasons to make sure you're using your dealer's custom inspiration website.
So it would look like this with the dealer's logo on it, and then I scroll way down to the bottom, and look, here, click to view video. You guys are awesome with your technology, I'm just going to say. You really
are. I mean, we make this available on every dealer's website. Everything is replicated, you know, or extended to where it has a custom dealer's website, what's going on with them, you know, because that's your dealer. We want to make sure that you get the latest information from us, from your dealer. You know, you can always go to Inspired by Dime, and then you have to search through dealers and things of that magnitude, and it might be, you know, an additional task, and that's never our goal. And our dealers support us. Sometimes they just get busy and they forget.
Yeah.
And then the next question is, well, one of them is what is a custom dealer's website that Miss Dory just posted to me. And a custom dealer's website is, in reality, an exact replicate of Eileen's InspiredByDime.com with all information, all references, anything about our products. It's all there in this inspiration division. And what we do is we replicate it so that your primary contact is your dealer, your favorite dealer. You bookmark that, and then you can see everything else, but at the same time know when their events are happening.
Right, and there are specials
in the menu.
Yes, and that you know, and Nancy, I'm just going to reiterate how important that dealer network is. I had no idea until my first dealer was Sears and Roebuck, and they weren't very good. I didn't know until I bought my first machine from a dealer just how important that dealer relationship is. And oh, I was like a groupie there. That I hope, and you know, and I'm so glad that the inspiration division is only selling through authorized dealers, because that dealer connection is
absolutely. We felt that was so important that any of the technology that we created just for that initial product site, what was important for you as a consumer to see, is to truly see that through the dealer's eyes, through that, so that you can know you're looking at the information that also contains your preferred dealer.
Right.
So you're in a, you know, it's its own little YouTube. It's its own little,
right.
you know, centric organization where you can just go and know what you need to do just specifically with that dealer. Our dealers are so very key. We knew that, and we spent a significant amount of money making sure that when you click your dealer. You see your dealer. You don't have to search for that dealer. We've given you a custom format in order to see everything support-wise that dealer has to offer. And we support it all, but we support it only through the dealer.
And Nancy, I've gotten this question, since we're on the subject, before at my seminars, that the consumer, you know, depending on where they bought their software and other factors, they may have been assigned a dealer who's not really their dealer. So they can just go in and change who their default dealer is, right? That doesn't affect anything. Or if they move.
It doesn't affect anything.
Okay.
We
so
embrace you whether you move from California to Florida. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
There's a link for you to download if you were the prior customer of another brand.
Yeah.
And we're here to assist you, and it's all free. So.
Well, good. All right. Other questions?
Last question here is, what are the key differences between C2S version 1 and C2S version 2 files?
Oh, well,
just like TES V1 and TES V2.
Okay. Well, ours, there isn't a real answer to that question, and I'll tell you why. Because C2S is a constantly evolving format. What has happened is that in light of the recent transition, C2S was constantly being updated with new features, new capabilities, as we continue to do with PEP. If you have a C2S file that was created in a previously branded version of the product, you can still read it in PEP without any problem. You can't, however, go backward. You'll need to, and everybody who had the other program has access to PEP, so they can continue to do that. It's not that the format was changed, you know.
They just need all the tools.
They just need all the tools. Exactly.
It's like an update. No matter what, it's
Right.
just like an update that with new features, and you need the new update to be able to preview them. And they are free for all that purchased previously.
Yes, and it's just like, okay, here's a gaming analogy. My son has a Game Boy Color. Well, his Game Boy DS games don't play on his Game Boy Color, but his Game Boy Color games, I think, play on his DS. So you can still read them as you grow up, but you can't. He can't use his new file formats in his old platform. So, but he knows
last
that.
question, and that's please demonstrate adding a variegated thread, not importing. And I think the problem is the customer may have tried to add a variegated thread and wasn't able to import it properly. Is that something we should do in this forum or table that?
I'm going to suggest that we table that and put it in the regular forum, just because there are instructions to do that. It is possible to do that. I, off of the top of my head, don't know that.
Don't know them, not at all.
I don't know them. But that is a great question, and I would
we'll put that on our forum, Miss Dory.
On the forum. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And please, we've kept you long enough. Keep going, Miss Tam.
Well, I just want to say I've really kind of covered everything in terms of organization, although I will say that we do have, I want to thank everyone for their support this year, and we're so excited about 2015, and please look to see where events are coming your way. As Nancy mentioned earlier, we have 2 really exciting seminars that we're going to be doing, and one, if you love quilting, you need to do it. And the other one's all about embroidery and hooping and proper placement and using cool tools, and you get to do some hands-on hooping. So if you haven't been to a seminar, look for a dealer near you that's having one and go, because they are very fun, very educational, and you know, we would love to meet each and every one of you.
And they're both very unique, and we'll be launching all the marketing. You know, this new event, Hoop to Hoop Quilting Clinic, not a clinic, but a Hoop to Hoop Quilting Extravaganza, actually.
Cool.
It will be very different from anything you've ever attended before, and with innovative new products that are not on the market. And there will be more than likely about 400 plus events for you to attend. So there's always going to be something close to you. We need about another 60 days to finalize and ramp up all these events, but we do ask you to join us. You know, and every webinar will give you an update, and everyone on the Inspiration team truly thanks you for your time and for your energy and for your passion for embroidery, and we sure hope we fuel that passion with a little bit of inspiration. Absolutely, and don't forget your update next Monday. We've got some great stuff coming down the line. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Dory. Thank you, Nancy R. and Bob and Debbie, and thank you for a great year, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to you.
That's a ditto on our end. We wish you all a wonderful and amazing holiday, both now and in the coming year.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.